Let us continue on with the origins of Saint James the Lesser. The name James the Lesser actually comes from the Gospel of Mark in Mark chapter 15, where James is mentioned there to be called James the Lesser. Wherever else James is referred to, he is always referred to as James the son of Alphaeus. As mentioned in our discussion on the origins of St. Matthew, Matthew's father was also named Alphaeus. However, since the Gospels never identify Matthew and James as brothers, we can safely assume that their fathers simply had the same names. In Mark 15, James is said to be the brother of Joseph and the son of the third Mary present at the crucifixion. In John 19, this Mary is referred to as Mary of Clopas, which a majority of scholars translate as Mary the wife of Clopas. This raises a question about whether James's dad was Alphaeus or Clopas. The Gospels are clear that his father is Alphaeus and that his mother's name is Mary of Clopas. There are two solutions to this one. One is that the phrase of Clopas could mean the daughter of Clopas rather than the wife of Clopas. Thus Clopas is just James's maternal grandfather. The other and more popular position is that Alphaeus and Clopas are actually just the same figure, and these are just two different names for the same person. Now, some scholars believe that Mary of Clopas is the same woman as the sister of Mary, the mother of Jesus, although it would seem fairly odd for a family to have two daughters named Mary. Thus, Mary's sister and Mary of Clopas would most likely be different women. Or, Mary of Clopas is actually the sister-in-law of Mary and not the sister of Mary. That would make it Clopas is then the brother of Mary. Or there's a weird account in which they have two daughters named Mary and that they simply had second names to distinguish between them, such as how Herod's sons were Herod Antipas, Herod Philip, Herod Archelaus, etc. Now, some scholars believe that the brothers of Jesus, Simeon, James, Judas, and Joseph, are actually Jesus' first cousins, the sons of Clopas and Mary, which would thus make James the Lesser a first cousin of Jesus. It was the church father Papias of Hierapolis who first identified Clopas and Alphaeus as the same person. And he taught that Mary, the wife of Clopas, was the mother of James, Simon, Judas, and Joseph. Although Papias also identifies James the Lesser with James the Just, the other James that appears in the Gospel of in the Acts of the Apostles, and the author of the Epistle of James. However, the book of Acts appears to make a clear distinction between James the Just and James the Lesser, making it clear that they are two separate figures. As I mentioned above, others believe that Mary of Clopas and Mary's sister are different women, and some propose that Salome, the mother of James and John, was the sister of Mary instead. This could also be why Salome asked Jesus to let James and John sit on the right and left of Jesus. If Salome is the sister of the Virgin Mary, this would make her the auntie of Jesus and would make James and John first cousins with Jesus. Thus it would make sense that they get to sit on the right and left of Jesus in his kingdom, being relatives of the king. So depending on who the sister of Mary was, then either James the Greater or James the Lesser is the first cousin of Jesus. Now, some scholars believe that the cousins of Jesus were Simon, James, Judas, and Joseph, and that James the Less, Thaddeus called Judas, and Simon the Zealot were all brothers. But Scripture never hints at such a possibility. Scripture, in fact, calls Thaddeus the son of James and not the son of Alphaeus or Clopas. It is unknown what trade James the Less served in before he was called as a disciple, but many have proposed that he also was a fisherman. It is also unknown where James was born or lived. And that wraps up the origins of St. James the Lesser.